scenes. Where did you even start putting something together like this?
Well, this has been sort of 2 to 3 years in the making, believe it or not. The work started on this back in 2018, 2019, when Kelvin Bywater, show director, myself, went round the country searching for different venues, looking at what the options were available, and wanting to try and find the right place that was accessible to everyone. I know that we've moved up north, but actually we're still not quite in the centre of the country, you know, so we have members in Scotland, Wales, as well as across England, and Somerford is a great central point for people to come and visit, as well as being an ideal site for us to build on. Also, the King family have been hugely supportive. The amount of enabling work that they've done over the last year or two to enable this to happen, including putting the hard standing down for the trade stands, for the stables, investing in spur roads, and, you know, having a willing, supportive venue partner like that makes such a difference as well. But really, again, it's hard to underestimate how much work was put into this year by both Kelvin Bywater and his show direct team, because we had a blank canvas. You know, it was a new site, new timetable, new showground layout, and actually we didn't get the green light for this until mid-June. So we had to do 10 weeks of planning in the space, well, what normally takes us 9 months at least, 9 to 12 months, we had to cram into that 10-week schedule. And that includes getting all the suppliers, getting all the power, the water, the Wi-Fi, the toilets, everything you see here is all the temporary infrastructure that's been brought in. And because of the uncertainty with the backdrop of COVID and Brexit and everything else, it's been a real challenge this year. And sometimes we felt like we were flying by the seat of our pants. But thankfully we got here and, you know, delighted with the result. And this is just year one. I mean, that's the thing to emphasize. We will build and we will grow from this. I mean, it has been difficult with COVID in particular. But I'm just delighted that we've been able to run a show that is almost returning to some sort of semblance of normality.
And as a rider, Jason, I would very much like to say thank you very much. And Robert, thank you for all of this, because next year I cannot wait to get down that centre line and be in an arena like that, I have to say. But Robert, I want to find out a little bit more about you, okay? So where, well, no pressure, it's okay. You know, but where did it even start, LeMieux, you know, or LeMieux, you know, and where did you even start? When did you become the founder of it? Because I hear you have to start
by pronouncing it right.
I know, I said it, and I knew you were going to correct LeMieux. I'm been corrected.
Don't worry, you wouldn't be the only one.
So I hear that you started off in eventing. Am I correct?
Yes. I shouldn't really be here at all, right? No. Yeah, I was an event rider, and I did my time, as they say, and a lot of my fellow riders are actually still riding now, and look at somebody like Andrew Hoy is north of my age and still winning medals. No, I decided I did have an injury, and it took me out for a while, a couple of operations, and I thought it gave me thinking time, and it was either go back into training or business, and business won really, and that's where it all really started from, and it's all developed just from product and the desire to create something that we would, as riders, use and we're happy with, and that's how we judge everything we do produce. If it's not good enough for us to use on our own horses, it's not good enough for anybody else. So, I mean, you know, it absolutely is great to still have my daughter, although she's not doing dressage, my daughter Chloe show jumps, but still, you know, we use masses of product all the time, every day. And it's a great way of testing and trialing product. And I love making things. I've always wanted to, you know, we started as a retailer, and that's the motivation to create the brand, was because we like making things. And so rather than selling other people's, we actually make and sell our own.
And as a bit of an outsider to it all, what I have to say is that it's actually given a lot of inspiration to a lot of riders. You know, they now get excited to ride because they've got matching sets. Yes. You know, I mean, I've never seen so much matching in my life, and it's amazing. And because of that, the riders are more excited to come for lessons. They're more excited to do things. So it actually goes a lot deeper than
I think the colour story was something that we introduced, you know, obviously years ago, and it was not frowned upon, but people thought, oh, it's very alien to have the matching thing going on. But we tried to do it in a tasteful and classy way. But how it's caught on is unbelievable. And even in America, where initially they'd only ever buy a grey or a blue, or, you know, if a navy blue was a way out colour for them. But now, incredible, the appetite for for matching colours, and the whole, because it's the psychology's changed. It's more like high street shopping. I think when people have a horse, it's an extension of themselves. They buy a new outfit for themselves, but actually, why not have some for the horse? And it's great. And I think that people caring that much about how their horses look is great. So.
Yeah, I truly believe that as well. And it gives them so much more confidence in the individual as well, because they know they look good. And that's important as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I have to say, I was driving out of here yesterday, and I saw someone with hat, ears, boots, riding, because you can hack from the top. And I straight away knew it was LeMieux products. I was straight away, and I had a look, and I was like, yeah. And it looked so smart, and it was just like, oh, matchy, matchy. But again, like from having establishments like this and loads of riders, your products, you do actually recognise them, don't you? And the matchy colours. And I have to say, some of them are slightly too bright for me, even for me. But people love it, don't they? And you kind of feel like if you feel smart, your horse feels smart, you do actually perform better.
Yeah, I mean, from a competitive perspective, it's obviously you're not going in the ring with them, but definitely at a lower level, that is rolled out, and certainly with the Team Quest, where they have their own colours and so on. Dressage has been very good at the grassroots to stimulate that. But I think it's just a general. It's brought dressage and riding, into a more modern, fashionable position, really.
I've covered Team Quest many a time, and it's one of the most fun weekends, slightly alcoholic, but very fun weekends. I love that weekend. Jason, we've had such a successful summer of sport, despite the complications of COVID. How is British Dressage obviously we've seen the medals, but British Dressage, how has it come out of COVID, and how is it faring, and what does the future look like?
Well, this year has been absolutely crazy. I mean, last year was difficult, obviously, with the lockdown and the complete suspension of the sport. And no one really knew what we were dealing with back then. So when we resumed, we took a very cautious approach, obviously with the protocols and the policies that we had in place to make sure that everyone stayed safe. And we were able to have the safe return of competition and training last year. But this time round, in 2021, we decided during the winter lockdown that we very much wanted to hit the ground running as much as possible when we were able to resume. And that meant we had to run the winter and the summer seasons almost in parallel, back to back. It's been quite a stressful time for all of the team. We've literally gone from one championship to the other, week to week to week. I mean, it's only 3 months ago we had our winter championships at the end of June. And then we've literally gone from there to the Olympics, Paralympics, Europeans, and now Nationals. And it's been extremely busy, but very worthwhile. I mean, within 10 weeks of resuming competition activity, we'd recovered our membership to pre-pandemic levels. And now our membership is as high as it was back in January 2018. So we have to be delighted. We've got over 17,100 members now enjoying dressage, and it's just fantastic that everyone's wholeheartedly embraced that return. I think there was a real appetite. People having had a year, 18 months off, they wanted to get back in the saddle, they wanted to get back in action, and people wanted to get back out and experience sporting events like this one. And it's just fantastic to be able to see people back at championships. Sport is...
So many of them, too.
Yeah, so many of them, yeah.
I mean, sport isn't meant to be run behind closed doors, so it's just fantastic to have a proper social atmosphere like this again.
And just finally, I think COVID and the pandemic, I think I'd be correct, for me, sport just became so important. You didn't realise how much you loved sport until it wasn't there. So I think, and also I feel like British Dressage and some of the other federations, and I know I was ringing Winnie all the time, what are we allowed to do? You guys became advice and like helplines for people as well, and a lifeline for people, because we had to look after our horses. We weren't allowed to compete, but actually knowing that family, that dressage family was out there. Do you feel like dressage has just become so important? Actually, you realise how important to people when it got taken away?
Well, we've always had very much of a community in dressage. It's a small, tight-knit community. I say small, it's growing all the time. But, that team spirit really did shine through, particularly last year when there was the complete suspension. It didn't matter whether you were a rider, a trainer, an owner, a groom, or indeed involved with us as a sponsor, a supplier, a partner. We all had the rug pulled from under our feet, and we didn't know what we were dealing with, and it was very much a leap into the unknown. And so myself and the team decided very early on that we were going to try and take the lead in that. We were all going to sort of try and find our way through the crisis, even though on occasion it felt like the blind leading the blind, because the government would change direction almost on a daily basis, let alone a weekly basis. But we decided we would communicate with people just regularly, and we had news bulletins, press releases, e-newsletters going out, certainly 2 or 3 times a week at the height of the crisis, just to keep people informed, make them feel that they were part of that community, and particularly during lockdown when people are isolated and alone, knowing that they are part of that wider world and that we're all supporting each other through it. And that, I think, again, paid dividends, because once we got out the other side, people felt confident enough in our protocols that we had in place and the policies and procedures that we put in place with our organisers, our venues, our officials, to be able to return to action, knowing that it was going to be safe to do so.
And Robert, you support a lot of riders, and I know you sponsor them and support them, but at the same time, the teams, haven't they, just given back? Like, to have that and to have it to watch and have that sport has just meant so much to us. And I'm guessing you, as a sponsor and a businessman, having those riders still go out there and perform has meant the world.
I mean, we've always tried to, you can't support every rider, but we've tried to give as much support to the teams as we can. But as you know, we've been with Charlotte and Carl. Heavens, I think I was thinking the other day, it's probably about 9 years. And in fact, if it hadn't been for Charlotte and Carl, we probably wouldn't have sponsored the Nationals in the first place. It was purely that they had I think initially there was a sponsor that couldn't complete a contract. And I remember Carl and Charlotte kind of saying, yeah, you just jump in there. And it was lovely because we'd only really supported riders to that point. And so it was a bit of a new, so they have something to be responsible for. But no, I think what's lovely is to see them here. Yeah. It's always a problem with the Nationals that, Jason and I have talked about. You won't get the very top British combinations. It's unlike show jumping. You can't just they don't come back and keep going. The top, they'll go to their national championship, the regional, European or world, and they then can't come back to this and compete here. So the national champion will never be the gold medalist from the Europeans of ours or whatever. But it's lovely to see Charlotte, and these riders all with their young horses coming up. And Carl's been great where he can. He's had a horse in the Grand Prix and the freestyle and so on. But it's a brilliant to see so many riders in so many different levels.
And so many young riders.
Yeah.
I mean, they are incredible. I know Lottie's not here, she's in Aachen, but we've got Annabella Pidgley, we've got lovely Ruby Hughes. I mean, the list is endless. And I have to say, as a journalist, before we couldn't name a young rider. No. But now these guys are taking the limelight just as much as Carl and Charlotte. And for you, as someone who's looking for this next generation coming through to sponsor, to support, you got a pick of them.
Well, I mean, Ruby Hughes, as an example, she definitely blew us away, because obviously we even did a photo shoot with her doing her vaulting. And to see Ruby, about 20 feet above a cantering horse it's unbelievable to see them in action. And then to watch her riding here as well. And she's got a great future, that little one.
Yeah, and just say, the strength in depth now across the whole of dressage is amazing. The standard just continues to improve year on year on year, but you can see with all of the classes, although we've gone from 400 up to 700 combinations here, it hasn't diluted the quality one little bit, because every single person deserves their place here at these championships. That's what we wanted to do, that everyone had their moment to shine, and have their opportunity to come here at the Nationals. And as Robert said, it's very much about the stars of the future, both equine and human. And that's what I love about the Nationals. These are the people who are going to be coming through now and will hopefully be the Carls and Charlottes of the future.
Well, but you better be digging that tailcoat out for next year. Come on, we want
out there somewhere.
Right, I know you're very busy men, and I know you need to get back to it, but I just want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for supporting the Nationals. And Jason, you and your team, I only get to see the likes of Millie, Becker, and the wonderful Winnie. I have to mention Winnie because she is the hardest working person I know. But I know there are people behind the scenes that do so much. So a massive thank you to them for putting on this amazing spectacle. spectacle. Just keep it up, guys. Please don't stop. Please don't take a day off anytime soon. And thank you so much. And we're loving the fan zone. But thank you so much. And thank you for coming on, because I know this is, you'd rather be out there being busy. But thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much for inviting us. And, you know, this has been a great new initiative this year. And as I say, hopefully this is just the start. We'll continue to grow and build on here. And thank you again to Robert and LeMieux for their very generous sponsorship. As you say, they are now synonymous with the Nationals. And I hope that relationship will continue for many years to come.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.